Hi, and welcome back to the Aussie podcast. We're at episode 9, which is pretty crazy. Today we have Eric on the podcast from ETC Body. How do you feel today?
Anxious.
That's okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like I was saying before, just a conversation. It's going to be fun. Yeah. I reckon we just jump right in and you tell us your story. What inspired you to start ETC Body and how did your eco-friendly approach kind of take shape?
So I've got a bit of a spiel at the start of this where people ask me, how did the business start? It's mostly started when I was a poor uni student living out of home with my partner. And this was when the zero waste movement began to sort of take off quite a bit. And I, being poor, couldn't afford those sort of products because they were even more expensive than non-eco-friendly products, which I found was kind of whack. So I thought, I wonder how I can do this for myself. And I found a book by Jan Berry. She's called The Nerdy Farm Wife. And I bought her book and I learned how to make soap from that.
Wow.
And that was like my first foray into just soap making or doing something like that for myself. And then because it's significantly cheaper to make your own soap than to buy it from the shops if you want to do the zero waste sort of or waste minimizing stuff. And then I started sort of gifting to friends and family, trying a few different things. I think one of the first soaps I made was an avocado soap with like real avocado.
Okay, yum.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I was pretty chuffed with myself.
Yeah,
I thought it was a pretty
it
good
should
idea.
be.
And so I would gift friends and family Christmas, birthdays. And then I had someone who I was working with at the time ask to buy some of my soaps. And then it just sort of snowballed from there where I thought, this is fun.
Yeah.
And the place where I was working, I wasn't particularly happy in it. No shade to anyone who I was working with. I loved who I was working with. It was just upper management that I couldn't handle too much. Yeah. And so I thought, all right, I'm out. I'm bouncing.
Yeah. Peace out.
Quit. Didn't have a job for 4 months.
Yep.
And within that time is when I thought, you know what, I'm going to make this a proper business. So I started with the soaps. I started with some bath salts, some little wax candles, what I call my solid lotion bars. It's like a solid moisturizer. And then it just sort of, snowballed again from there. And here I am 4 years later.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So that's... And like the entire time that I was doing it, the intention was to keep it low waste, waste minimizing. I didn't want too much packaging. I wanted something in terms of branding that looked really sort of natural and authentic. And so I went with brown paper and recycled paper because I liked that look. I liked that sort of farmhouse aesthetic.
You're cute.
And then, just sort of went from there.
Yeah, I love it. So, I mean, you started it in terms of like a low cost sort of situation. Generally running a sustainable business does come at like higher cost sort of thing.
Sure.
Ingredients, packaging, all that sort of thing. How do you balance affordability for your customers while also maintaining this eco-friendly low waste practice?
For me, in terms of affordability, the main thing is just having less packaging. Because you see businesses who have these beautiful, beautiful branding, but they're all in boxes and they've got all these sort of stickers and boxes and boxes, and it's just excess packaging that people are just going to throw in the bin. So I thought, why not just skip that altogether and just go with, a jar of moisturizing cream and not have it in a box, in a box.
Yeah. The endless boxes.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the main thing, was just reducing the packaging that I used and trying to source the packaging from places where I didn't have to get them shipped to me. So for my lotion bars, for example, I literally go to Coles or Woolworths and I buy their compostable brown wax paper and I wrap it in that. Yeah. So I don't need to go buy any special thing. It's just from the shops, so I can just go there myself. All of my packaging, all of my stickers, I print at home. So that's...
Like with a Cricut?
I just use a regular printer.
Oh, great.
There's a brand called Avery stickers. They're like really, they're massive. And so I found the perfect sizes of circle and rectangular stickers, designed all my own packaging, and I just print them out at home when I need them on demand, so that if I do change ingredients, or if I do change the name of something, or if I discontinue something, I'm not stressed about throwing away excess stickers that I got printed and paid money for. So that's another way that I keep costs down. Another thing was just shopping around for the best low-cost ingredients and keeping those suppliers to a minimum. So for my ingredients, I have 3 main suppliers. One of them's in Queensland, 2 of them are in Sydney. Or technically, I suppose it's 2 main suppliers. And so that's how I keep most of my costs down. That being said, when you buy in bulk, obviously, you have a lower unit cost, but you then have a higher price that you're putting forward altogether. So that's a sort of difficult balance to have. So, you know, I buy between 500 mils and 1 litre of essential oils, which is really expensive.
Yeah.
But there's no way I'd go over a litre because I don't use that much essential oil in 6 months or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's so cool. So, and like on your journey, you have collaborated with a lot of like local artists and I guess that small business community. What has been some of the most rewarding parts with collaborating in those sort of communities, and how is this like collectively like impacted your business?
The most rewarding out of all of the things that I've done with the business has been with the Slowly Made Local shop. That's like top tier, number 1. I was asked to join the group in November 2022. It was just supposed to be a 2-month pop-up in Paddington. I think there were like 18 of us in the shop at the time, just sharing rent, which made it really affordable to be there. I mean, it was still expensive, but more affordable. And then there were 7 of us that decided to continue on and sign a lease for a year.
Yeah, wow.
And so we've just sort of kept that shop going for, you know, over 2 years now, which is honestly crazy to me, because that was my number 1 dream, was to have a physical shop space, and I'm there already, which is insane.
That's so cool. And like 4 years, was it?
Yeah. So I started in September 2019.
Yeah, wow.
So it's pretty insane to think that in that short period of time, I'm able to share that wonderful community, and being in Paddington is, I think, one of the best locations to be in for our shop, because we're all handmade, we're all sort of local to the Brisbane area, we're all friends as well, like we all get along really well, and that's been really, really rewarding. Being able to develop those relationships with other business makers, and those relationships turn into friendships has been really nice, because otherwise I wouldn't have that, I don't think. I'm not really a social person. I'm not very outgoing. I'm very introverted. So basically being forced to do this has been really great socially for me.
It's like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. I mean, it's exhausting, but I do really enjoy it, and it's nice to sort of have those people who have your back, and you know, you can bounce things off them and ask them questions, and it's a very collaborative process.
And it really fosters that sense of community, and like challenging one another, and like, I guess, like you said, like bouncing those ideas and just like being creative with one another. It's cool to have a creative space with people.
It's really nice being around like-minded people as well. It feels very much like a community in that sense, which is something I think I'd been missing, just sort of working by myself from home for a while. So
I wanted to quickly like jump back and talking about what challenges you kind of faced when you were adopting sustainable practices, and like what advice would you kind of give to people that are seeking to go that eco-friendly route? I know you kind of touched on it already, but I was wondering if you could even expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, the cost is like the biggest thing in adopting sustainable practices, with bulk buying, and then it just costing more. Like I literally just put in an order for some more ingredients yesterday, and I just dropped over $1,000, and it just hurts.
Oh, it does.
Even though I know it's gonna go towards making things, and I'm gonna sell it over Christmas, it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh
See
no,
that go
thank
out of
you.
your bank account and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Goodbye, money. I think the sort of challenges for me personally was more an internal sort of thing of questioning myself of am I greenwashing here? You know, am I really doing the best I can in terms of sustainability? Can I do more? What else can I do? You know, could I look at using like some sort of new compostable material? But I don't know. It's all, a lot of it is internal for me. The other thing is actually finding palm-free ingredients. A lot of the things that I use don't contain palm oil, and I don't buy palm oil outright for my soaps. But there are ingredients that are they're called emulsifiers. They help blend oil and water together, so they create a stable emulsion. Pretty much all of the emulsifiers that are on the market in Australia are palm oil derived. So that's a really difficult one in terms of sort of sustainability. But then there's the whole palm oil debate to begin with of, you know, yes, no, you know, what if it's RSPOs sort of certified, all this sort of stuff. And then in terms of recommendations for people, if they were looking at doing that, or suggestions at least, is just take your time in doing your research.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I mean, you know, you can always change your mind later on, and you know, I think it's always a work in progress for me in terms of like looking for more sustainable or better ingredients or better packaging, and so it's always a work in progress. And so just keeping your mind open to new ideas is probably the best way to go forward.
Did you think, like, this is a bit off our questions, but in terms of like,
How dare you?
I know, crazy me. When you were jumping into that, like, I guess that market of sustainable products and stuff like that, did you feel a bit of like imposter syndrome around? And you were saying like almost like that fear of like, oh, am I greenwashing? Is that like a regular, I guess, internal dialogue that you're having with yourself around it? And if so, how did you manage to navigate that sort of thing?
I ignore it.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Usually I don't really have those sort of feelings, but there are a few creators that I follow on Instagram. One of them is based in Melbourne. She makes amazing body products, and she is also a scientist, and so she's sort of she creates fantastic sort of informative pieces of, I suppose, literature for Instagram. And so whenever I read one of those, I think, oh, am I really doing the best I can?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't really think about it because I know ultimately I'm doing the best I can with the knowledge that I have right now.
Yes.
So unless I want to go on some ridiculous deep dive where I spend an entire month of my life doing as much research and reading research papers as I can, which I don't have time to do.
You're like living off the land and like
I can't sustainably do that.
Yes.
So I suppose there's the balance of you know, what sustainably can I do in terms of products, but what can I also sustainably do in terms of me physically, my mental health, and you know, what can I just do in general in my time.
No, 100%. So when you're, in terms of like running a small business, those come with like financial challenges sort of thing. So from managing expenses to like tracking the profit loss, all that sort of fun jazz. So why would you say it's essential for small business owners to stay not only on top of their finances, but be like active in, I guess, looking at what their best like sellers are and everything like that? And what advice would you give to those that are ultimately overwhelmed with it?
Yes. I'm going to put a caveat on this of do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
Because I don't really, I do a lot of tracking, but I'm really not on top of my finances and accounting at all.
Yeah.
Like I'll leave things for months at a time. I literally, like 3 weeks ago, I finally did all my tax stuff.
Oh, so
because
real.
I've just been putting it off.
Yeah, so real.
Just did not want to do it. There was just the resistance of, and my partner was like, I need you to get this done so I can do my tax. I'm just like,
it's like, babe, come on. Like, No, literally.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
It's just me. The challenge is me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the challenge. I do, however, have processes in place already after, 5 years? I don't know how long. I can't count.
No.
However many years I've been doing this for. I have so many spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a spreadsheet girly.
Oh, I love it.
They're my favorite.
Yeah, okay.
I'm all for paid products, say like dropping 0 in there. But for me, I sort of balance, is it worth the subscription versus can I just sort of push through it and do that myself?
Yeah.
For me, I'd rather just push through it and do it myself because I don't want to be spending more money than I have to. But for others who do really struggle to keep on top of it, I would definitely recommend it. Just from talking to people who I know who use that software, it's infinitely helpful.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, literally game changer. I don't do that because I like to cause myself pain. But I do also...
And you're a spreadsheet girly.
Exactly. I do really like to see those numbers. Like entering in that data makes it feel real.
Yeah.
And so for me, I really like to keep on top of all of my figures. So obviously, classic profit and loss. And then I do like a yearly and then a quarterly expenses, income, and then cost of goods. And then I also... God, I have so many. What else do I do? Most recently, actually, because I've sort of started dabbling in ceramics and actually selling them, I've started a whole new spreadsheet that just covers my ceramics sales to see whether it's actually worth me continuing to sell them or if I just do it as a hobby sort of thing.
Yeah.
And if those expensive, if that income does cover those expenses.
Yeah.
In terms of just keeping track of it in general, it's really helpful to see if you actually have the money for upcoming expenses. So over Christmas time my business is very seasonal, so I have lots of markets over Christmas time and an extra pop-up, which is just I'm dropping money everywhere.
Left, right and centre.
And it hurts again. Like I know I'm going to make money from it, but it just is painful to see that money go from my account. So knowing that I have those expenses coming up, I know I have that money put aside that I can then just pay for and not be like, I'm going to have to pull from my own personal savings to pay for this. Another great reason to actually keep on top of your expenses. Not that I do, but,
Yeah, but it's also like probably really validating in terms of like where you can see where you're flourishing in things. And it kind of gives you a bit of drive to, okay, well, that's working. So like, let's get behind that and let's do more of that sort of thing. Whereas if you're just like almost like aimlessly going about it, aimlessly, let's say quotations, but I feel like it gives you a bit of clarity, like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I feel better about this now, you know?
And like not just in the terms of financials, but just I love data, full stop. The autism in me is strong. Yeah,
love it.
Even just using the software that I use to process sales, it gives me a ridiculous amount of data in terms of, what are my top sellers? What are my lowest sellers? What's my top in terms of quantity versus income? And having all of that available to you and keeping on top of that really does help you sort of realize, okay, this hasn't been selling well for the past 6 months and it hasn't really sold well ever. So let's boot that off and let's find something else to bring in.
Yeah.
Or, say my shower steamers are like my number one bestseller, both in quantity and in terms of income. Do I look at expanding out to more scents because I know that they sell really well? Or do I look at investing that time instead of testing scents? Do I test a new recipe and see how that goes? So just data in general is really good to keep on top of.
Yeah, great. So what's actually, I was like, maybe I should. Just deciding which one I should do next.
Okay.
I might actually just jump to this one and then we'll come back. But so the reason why I was asking this is because you share detailed insights into your sales per sellers expenses, offering like that really transparent look behind the scenes of your business. So what inspired you to be so open in terms of your business results? Because it's not a common thing to do. Like, it's not something that everyone's jumping on and posting on Instagram. Okay, this is what my profit and loss looked like for the year. And how has this transparency impacted your relationship with your consumers?
I'm going to start with the second part of the question.
Yeah, great.
I found there was a lot of people who really positively responded to me sharing that data. People loved it, and I'm still 10 months later getting people liking that post who've just found me, who are just like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, love the transparency. Personally, for me, I highly value transparency. So it's something that's so important to me just as a person.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like I'd be my actual self on social media if I wasn't transparent like that. In terms of what sort of inspired me to do this, I think it was two things. I'd been wanting to do it for such a long time to begin with, but I just hadn't. And then I think one of the other local Brisbane creators who I follow, she shared an Instagram story from a US maker who had done the same thing, where she'd shared her profit, all of her expenses, all of her bestsellers, a whole bunch of information she just sort of shared out into the world, which I thought sort of, it gave me the kick in the bum to actually do it myself. And I'd been following a few people on YouTube and watching some YouTube videos, and it wasn't even about expenses, but it was just about people who would share this information just because they could. You know, they just wanted to share. And I thought, I mean, I'm also really nosy, so I like seeing that sort of data when people do share that information. And not just, I think just to satisfy my own personal curiosity. So I thought, surely people wonder the same thing about my business, so
Why not?
all right, let's just do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. So we're, like, this is going back to my other ones, but like, so you emphasize like transparency. You emphasize transparency, oh my goodness, and connection with your customers. So how do you actually build those genuine like relationships with your customers, and how has your community, I guess, shaped the growth of ETC Body?
I think I'm just really, I like to be really open on social media. I really feel like I'm fake if I am not. And I think that's one of the things that I don't like about those sort of big businesses on Instagram, is that it feels so disingenuous, because it just, they're just pushing a brand, they're pushing a label, they're pushing products. They're not fostering connections with people outside of buy our product, spend money with us, give us money, money.
Yep.
And I
It's a
hate
rich
that.
man's world.
I really hate it.
Yeah.
So I do share a lot of my personal things. I share my hobbies. Like, I've started sharing some of my ceramics, and it's been really validating to do that, because I get messages from people saying, oh my God, I love this. Keep sharing more of this. And so I do, because people just tell me that they like it.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it too, you know. And I think it makes me feel like more of a person and seem like more of a person.
Yeah.
So, you know, I show my face, which I really don't like photos of myself. But I know that
It goes a long way.
I know people love it. And I mean, I hate thinking this way, but it does also drive engagement as well. And there's always that little business part in the back of the brain that's just like, you just got to keep pushing for more followers, pushing for more engagement, which I hate. But I suppose that's the sole cost of running a business.
Yeah, like engagement at the end of the day, it's like what you want. Like,
It's
you want
how you
people
get
to get,
sales.
you want people to see your business, so then you can get those conversions and then
Yeah,
keep running for another day, kind of thing.
exactly. So, I mean, I share a lot of my stuff on my stories, and I think it was 2 years ago during Are You OK Day, I went on a very long Instagram rant, and I posted about it being like, this is absolutely ridiculous. The government isn't doing anything to help, and you know, this is the things that I struggle with, and you know, there are very few things actually put in place, and I think a lot of people really appreciate
they
that
value
sort of
that.
genuine and vulnerability.
Yeah.
So just keep doing it because I like it.
Yeah, I love it. So, in terms of like vulnerability, what does that mean to you as a business owner? Obviously, you're very pro it from this dialogue here, but can you like share some behind the scenes challenges that others may not see?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Let me just flip my page over.
Oh, I love it. It's flipped.
Yeah, it's flipped. I can read what I've written now, otherwise I'll forget.
No, you're fine.
Look, I'm a people pleaser, and I've completely forgotten your question. I'm so sorry.
No, don't even stress.
Just tangent, brain gone.
No, don't even stress. So the question is, like, what does vulnerability mean to you, I guess, as a small business owner? And can you share behind the scene challenges that others may not see? Yeah.
That's what I forgot.
No, don't stress.
I share a lot of stuff already on social media. You know, I've shared a lot about my mental health and my physical health, and I've shared a lot even in terms of just personal things, like, you know, the fact that I'm married to a man, or the fact that I'm transgender. People were very surprised when I sort of shared that, but that's vulnerability to me, sort of opening up to people who don't know me at all, and just being like, this is me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it also really helps to change people's perceptions of certain ideas and worldviews. And a lot of the other sort of behind the scenes stuff is very internal for me again. There is a little bit of the imposter syndrome of like, oh my God, this is actually insane. Like when I had the Museum of Brisbane reach out to me earlier this year saying, hey, we'd love to stock your products. And I'd been meaning to reach out to them for ages, but I just hadn't because I was so afraid of rejection. So a lot of the time I won't sort of reach out to those people and do those things because all I think is, oh, what if they don't actually want that from me? And that would be really upsetting.
Yeah.
I also really struggle with everything. I mentioned this before, but I have terrible working memory. And I think a lot of that goes hand in hand with the issues that I have, like my mental illnesses and stuff and my disabilities.
Yep.
And I don't share a ridiculous amount of it online.
It's still personal as well.
Yeah, exactly. And there are so many things that I will not ever share with other people because it is so intensely personal to me.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I will say, I know people absolutely appreciate hearing this, but my workspace is an absolute mess. It's like a bomb has gone off every single day. I tidy it up one day, it's a bomb the next. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sure people can appreciate that.
I can appreciate that, to be honest. Oh, goodness. The further the year goes by, I'm like...
Yeah. I get really embarrassed, like, taking Instagram videos of being like, oh, God, people are going to see how absolutely messy this place is. I cannot show people. Because all you see on Instagram are these beautiful workspaces, light-filled.
Yes.
They've got, like, beautiful wood and everything is completely neat and everything's in boxes and
So
tidy.
aesthetic.
It looks like they've never lived there in their life.
No, literally. But at the end of the day, like, you're a real person.
Exactly.
You know, like...
You can't just buy me from Target or
Yeah, none of that Kmart knockoff. No. So, as a mental health advocate, how do you balance running a business with prioritizing your well-being, and any advice with people that are facing something similar?
It's really hard. I struggle a lot. That's one of the other things that I don't really share a lot of, is how much I struggle balancing business and personal life. I have burnt out many times before. A few years ago, I burnt out so badly it was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I existed over Christmas time, because my business is very seasonal. So from September to December is like the busiest time of the year for me. And so I just sort of pushed myself too far. I literally did markets back to back, like a market on Saturday and then a market on Sunday.
No, you
didn't. And I think back to that now, and I sit there and I think, how did I actually manage that?
Yeah, like you pack down and then you had to
Yeah.
pack your car again
Like,
and be
make more
ready
shit
and like
then, yeah, go the next day. It was insane. And so every year after that, when I talk about this with my psychologist in the lead up to Christmas, I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again.
yes, remind
Here's
me.
my plan for
Yeah.
months. I'll only do 3 a month maximum over these 3 months.
Yes.
I'm not pushing myself. She's like, okay, are you sure? And I'm just like, yes, I'm okay. But I'm also going to do this and this and this
Yeah.
and this. She's like, okay, you're going too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Take a step back.
Chill pill.
So it's really hard to sort
Yeah.
of balance that. I'm very privileged in being able to have a very large support network, not only of friends, but I have a very large allied health team to help me. So I've got my psychologist, my OT, my physio, my GP, my yoga instructor. Like there are so many people that I have on my team to help me, and that's a privilege. Not everyone can access that. I don't have the money to access that. So again, I'm privileged to be receiving funding to be able to receive those supports, because without them, I don't know where I would be physically or mentally. I think in terms of advice to other people, the most important thing that I have to remember for myself is just to prioritize yourself. Even if it is at the expense of the business, if you don't put the effort into yourself long term, there is no business long term.
100%.
And whatever that sort of means to you in terms of effort, whether that is making sure you're taking breaks and, not pushing yourself too hard, making sure you're going out and socializing or seeing a mental health professional, or making sure that you're eating healthy and sleeping well and, seeing a doctor regularly and all those sort of things. Like it's all very variable, but you just got to make sure you're looking after you.
Yeah. And like we ramble on about like work-life balance, but like work-life balance.
It's such an oversaid thing, but I think it's oversaid because it's kind of true.
Oh,
but
yeah.
again, it's so hard to implement those things. So people say, oh, you should make sure you're not working too hard, and, don't answer the phone if it's work outside of work hours. Just like, but how do I do that?
Yeah.
How do I build up these techniques to make sure that I am prioritizing myself? What if I literally can't look after myself?
Yeah, exactly. And I say it, I feel like I say this in literally every podcast. I'm so lame. And I feel like, anyway, my whole thing is we're all on a journey at the end of the day, and it's having like grace for ourselves that like, it's okay. Like it's gonna pan out.
Yeah. You just got to do a little CBT on yourself,
Yeah, exactly. It's just chill. Don't, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to follow through with that, but at least if you can keep it in your mind, it's something. It's the first step.
Oh, 100%. And actually being aware that like you're not supernatural. Like you just chill.
Go easy on yourself.
Yeah. So amongst all of this, how do you stay creatively inspired and manage all aspects of ETC Body, from product, oh my goodness, product creation to design to just being like having passion and love for your business as a whole?
Yeah. Again, really hard. It's a process. There are quite long periods of time where I'm not inspired. I don't really have the energy to do something outside of whatever I'm regularly doing. It is really, really hard to juggle it all at once, especially the behind the scenes of the business. There are spells of time where I just completely ignore posting on social media because it's just too much brain power and too much.
That's another thing.
I just can't handle it. So I find what works for me is during my quiet period, which is usually January to August-ish. And even then, January and sometimes even February, I'll just completely take off. I won't do anything about the business. business at all. So I give that time to myself. But during that quiet period, I will do more admin work. I will try to catch up on my accounting. That's when I'll usually research new products and test new products if I remember to. That's where I'll look at taking workshops and doing classes to expand my knowledge base. It's where I'll look at reformulating my products, because with this cost of living crisis, ingredients are ridiculously expensive and things just continue to skyrocket. So looking at how I can keep products at the same quality but supplementing different ingredients, even just organizing my studio, making sure that everything is well organized, so that I have a process of when I'm making things where I'm not running back and forth, and then redesigning packaging, that sort of like quiet period time. I do have a friend who bless her, I absolutely love. She sends me multiple Instagram posts and reels every single day of this beautiful, gorgeous art, funny memes. And I find that's really helpful for me to keep inspired, where I see these really beautiful pieces of artwork. I think, I love that. I love this element. I'm going to take a little bit of that. I'm going to save that to remind myself about it later when I have the energy to look through and sort of develop a concept from there. And then just making sure that you're doing hobbies as well, doing things outside the business. So for me, that's ceramics at the moment. I'm deeply obsessed. And while I sell things, I don't make to sell. I make because I enjoy, and then sell them because people like them. So it's still only a hobby for me at the moment, and I want to keep it that way.
No, for sure. There's like little bits where it's like you can get too caught up in how you're going to profit off things, where you just lose a bit of that passion behind it as well. So it's a really fine line as well.
It's very hard to sort of, it's a hard line to sort of keep on top of. And I have some artist friends who they would classify themselves as multidisciplinary artists, and I don't understand how they can do all these different things that they really enjoy but still make a profit from it, but then not just feel completely burnt out from it, because it seems like all of their hobbies have been combined into a business, and I just don't understand how these people can do it.
No, 100%. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's their own. I mean, absolute respect.
You know, if you can do it,
you can do it.
Yeah,
I love it for you. I couldn't, but I love that. That was actually my last question. Is there any final thoughts or any like little bits of like nuggets of advice that you'd give to anyone that's kind of just wanting to start the journey, or people that are even struggling on that journey as well?
I think for me, what I've really found the most helpful, both when starting and continuing, is continuing to research things and take new opportunities where you can learn new things. I recently completed it was a small entrepreneurship program funded by council, run by a not-for-profit, and it was a fantastic resource to be able to just sort of revisit things from the business that I hadn't looked at in 5 years, like business plans and stuff. But also just taking time to learn new things and remembering that you can always change things around, and you don't have to be stagnant. But if you are stagnant, like, that's not a bad thing. Fish can survive in a stagnant pond. Don't quote me on that. I could be totally wrong.
No, I love it. I'll quote you on that. Amazing. Well, thank you literally so much for joining. Like, you're a legend.
Thank you so much for asking me. I was so excited when you sent me the message. I was like, oh my God.
You're like, oh, celebrity.
Sometimes you pop on my feed where you liked one of my things. And I'm like, oh, I feel so, it's so exciting.
I know. I love it. Anyway, sorry. I'm going to just do a little outro. I have to literally always preface that this is the most awkward bit, but it's probably not awkward for anyone but me.
Give into the cringe.
Anyway, it's fine. Alrighty, thank you for joining episode 9 of the Aussie podcast, Talk Small Business to Me. We had a blast, but where can we... Actually, do you want to give you like your handles so people can go and find you on social media?
Sure. I'm at ETCBody, ETCBODY, everywhere.
Love it. Make it easy.
Yeah, simple.
Great. Anyway, tune next time. We'll see you later. Let's talk some more business to me. Bye.